Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Shyamala.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon to all participants. I welcome everyone for the third session of second day of ATAL FDP program. Once again, I welcome our resource person, chief guest, Dr. Vijay Chitra, madam. Now I hand over the session to Vijay Chitra, madam.
Thank you. So, very good afternoon to you all. I welcome every one of you for afternoon session. So, in morning, we have seen about fundamentals of electric vehicles charging. So, what are all the basic parts of EV, electrical vehicle charging equipment, and what do you mean by EV battery, electric vehicle battery? So, among five major types of electrical vehicle battery elements, we will prefer lithium ion battery. All these things we have seen. In the afternoon session, we will start the remaining. So let me present the PPT in continuation with the morning. Let us start with the electrical vehicle charging location selection, because we all know how far electrical vehicle charging is important, and how do we have the locations, because it is not easy to provide the charging stations wherever is possible. Okay, so we have to get certain constraints, restrictions, and requirements. Accordingly, we have to provide the charging location. So here we need to consider the location selection criteria. In on what basis we have to select the locations. So optimal locations for electrical vehicle charging installations will change according to type of equipment in use. So depending upon the type of the vehicle we are using, accordingly we have to consider the locations. So the locations may not be same for all kinds of vehicles. For example, long duration level 1 charging may be good match for home or workplace locations, but it is not recommended for shorter duration parking areas such as grocery stores. Suppose if there are grocery stores, we know nowadays with smaller area, then we can have many number of the grocery stores. So they are closely spaced. So the spacing among the grocery stores itself is very, very minimum. So in that, we cannot able to provide the charging station. Okay, so they may be congested. So in that area, we not, because level 1 takes so many hours to get charged. Okay, nearly 14 hours it takes to get full charge. So in that area, we may not have location selection for charging. Okay, so it may be for home and it may be for larger spacing area. And this is the location attributes for electrical vehicle charging. So I have given as per the three major types of the charging. One is level 1 charging and level 2 charging and DC fast charging like supercharging. So here typical duration of the charge event is nearly 6 to 10 hours. Suppose maybe 14 hours required for level 1. So here, as I already mentioned, depending upon 1 hour charging, then we may extend certain number of miles. So suppose if you take level 1, so 5 miles may be extended. So when we do duration of charge like this. Similarly, for level 2, 1 to 3 hours, if we provide 208 or 240 volts charging, that is voltage supply, then 10 to 20 miles may be extended, and DC fast charging means it's enough to have only 30 minutes for full charge, and it can able to cover the range of 75 plus miles. And who are all the users? Suppose if the level 1 is preferred, then typical users may be from home usage and employee parking during the work day. So, okay, suppose if the workers are working for a entire day, then they can have the charging station in the parking areas. And the next one is long term, 8+ hours. Suppose if more than 8 hours working condition, or the vehicle can be parked more than 8 hours, then we can have the charging station there. Okay, and charging while on a carpool, walking, or a transit trip, like that. And if you take the level 2, home use for EV, electrical vehicle owners, and wanting a faster charge and charging in a commercial area while shopping or doing business, and parking at a commuter lot, that is area may be high enough. And if it is of a DC fast charging, we can able to have fast charging while on a long trip in order to reach a destination or to extend the length of the trip, then we can have the DC fast charging. And the desirable characteristics are for level 1, workplaces, lit, some safe area is required, some pedestrian and transit connections are required. So for level 2, maybe charging stations maybe at shopping, dining, restrooms, or within certain walking distance, during the transit services, during pedestrian facilities, like that. Lit and safe area is possibly be provided. And for DC fast charging, amenities at the charging site, like food, coffee, or Wi-Fi, or these are all the amenities required. If these amenities available, then we can able to provide the DC fast charging. Safe area and lit may be provided for DC fast charging. And locations, priority locations for level 1, employee parking areas, long-term customer and visitor parking, and park and ride slot. And whereas for level 2, municipal or private parking lots in downtowns, village centers, growth centers, or shopping centers. For DC fast charging, near high volume roadway access points. So these are all the priority locations for level 1, level 2, as well as DC fast charging. So when we do selection of the location for charging station with level 1, level 2, and DC fast charging, we have to consider all these attributes. So that's why they are called as location attributes, which are desirable attributes to be considered for installing the location for charging station. And coming to property siting considerations, okay. So we need to select the site, right? So property siting considerations. So process for installing electrical vehicle charging at a particular location will depend on property ownership and type of the land usage. Okay, so what is property ownership? It may consider there are so many ownerships. Okay, and different lands, types of land. So according to the application and according to the requirement, we have to consider this ownership as well as type of land. And in coming to, in a nutshell, then we can have general siting issues. One is the availability of power and constructability, mounting, environmental protection. So when we see the availability of power, suppose if it is of level 1, 108 volts is enough. Suppose if it is of level 2, then 230 volts are required. So suppose if no 230 volt supply is possible, then we may not provide the level 2. Suppose if 400, above 400 volts are possible, then we can have the DC fast charging. If not possible, then we may not be able to provide the DC fast charging. So depending upon the amount of power availability, then we can able to provide the type of the charging. Next one, constructability. So depending upon the type of the charging required, then we have to provide with the adapters, etc. So what we have seen in the morning session, there will be an industrial port connector. So that connector is required for level 1 and level 2. Suppose if it is of DC super fasting, then we have to use other save and Camido, like that. Okay, we have to use so many adapters. And then mounting. So mounting is also very important, whether it is horizontal mounting or vertical mounting or inclined mounting, like that we have to consider depending upon the type of the land. Usually vertical mounting is more preferred. And then certain environmental protection, if it is of a moistured area, if it is of a highly hazardous area, so like that we need to consider the environmental condition. Accordingly, we have to protect with the environment by using suitable compensation circuits. So residential charging station installation. So charging at home is by far the most popular option for EV owners, because while starting taking the electric vehicle from their home itself, they can ensure that their battery is full, or they can able to ride for a desired mileage. So for which for every electrical vehicle owner can have the charging at home itself. Okay, and convenience is high for homeowners who charge overnight when their vehicles are not in use. Okay, this is what we are doing for day-to-day practice. Okay, even though we want to charge our cell phones, then we'll keep it in charge during night. But nowadays, due to the construction of our cell phones, it is not preferred to have the entire duration of night for charging. Okay, so they recommend that certain hours for charging in order to protect our mobile device. So even though we are giving more importance for protecting our mobile device itself, how do we consider the protection for our electric vehicles? Okay, so as per the recommendations from the electrical vehicle manufacturers, we need to identify how many hours required for charging. So accordingly, we need to provide the charging. So when the vehicles are not in use, when it is at rest, then we can able to provide the charging. This is the most recommended one. And the electricity charges are much lower when we do charging at the home itself. Then it is comparatively less than gasoline vehicle fuel expenses. Okay, that too, in comparison with our current scenario, our fuel prices are increasing tremendously day by day. So for which it's better to provide electric vehicles. So definitely that charging cost is much lower than that of the fuel expenses. So many homes have ready access to power connections, which reduces installation expenses. So while construction itself, or while purchasing the EV itself, we have to be ready with power connections, okay, access. So then there is no need to spend more amount for installation. And there are no concerns about the availability or blocking other EV owners from charging, particularly if they do not have access to dedicated parking in proximity to power connections. Okay, so suppose if they need, they can use also. Suppose like Wi-Fi, suppose if we do not provide any permission, then we can have the blocking option. Otherwise, others can also use. Okay, so this is depending upon our desired requirements. And workplace and commercial locations. So after home and workplaces are the after home, the next one is the workplace. Maybe we are working at a company, we are working at any institution, or we are working at any organization. So there will be a common location for electrical vehicle charging. Okay, so if we utilize the electrical vehicle charging, then it is better to provide. So an increasing number of businesses are providing electrical vehicles.
ਚੱਲਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂਗਾ, ਖੁੱਲੇ ਕਿਉਂ ਹੋਇਆ ਨੇ? ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਂਦਾ ਇੱਥੇ.
Gulbinder Garg, can you mute yourself? Thank you. Okay, we need to consider the second working place as the second common location or commercial location for charging our electric vehicle is workplace, because we do working for more than 10 hours or 8 hours. So we can utilize those hours. So during our working time, our electrical vehicles will be at rest. So will be at parking. So in that working place, if we provide the charging station, that will be too good for our purpose. So the employees, visitors and customers, those who are at a business site, then they can have the commercial location for charging their electric vehicles. And what are all the major siting issues at, excuse me, Mani, close the door. There are certain siting issues at workplace. One is parking capacity, and second one is proximity to employment and destinations, and modal connections. Parking capacity, as I already discussed, during the working place, depending upon the number of employees working in that area, then we can have, and depending upon the number of persons who are having the electrical vehicles, then we can we should consider that location as the commercial location. So, and if there are more number of the employees working in that institution, and almost 75% of the people are having that electrical vehicles, then depending upon the parking slot provided to the employees, then we can able to consider that area as the commercial location. So I hope you all may be clear for the statement. So depending upon the number of employees and depending upon the number of employees who are having the electrical vehicles, then the parking capacity may be extended. Okay, and sometimes that there should be some proximity to the employment and the destination. Suppose if the person is working in a building A, suppose if the charging station located at a destination Z, then the employee may not prefer, because there will be too much distance from his working area to the charging station area. So there should be close spacing. Okay, maybe at building C or building D, then if it is a walkable distance, then they can go and collect their electrical vehicles after getting charged. Okay, so this should be considered as an important point. And then modal connections, so locating the charging in areas with linkages to other modes of transportation, like such as sidewalks, bus stop, and park and rides. Okay, which provides owners with access to additional destinations and opportunities. Suppose if there is a place in which they wanted to go to some seashore or marketing place or some beach or any other temple like that, they can have the multiple chances or choices where they wanted to go after their working time. So if their priority is satisfied, then definitely they will prefer that area as the commercial location for charging. And this is about the employees choices. And the next one is public location. Okay, public electric vehicle charging locations generally require whatever the considerations we have seen, the same as workplace or the commercial location. Okay, and factors relevant to public locations are direct users to charging equipment and parking restrictions, which will increase availability of charging installation, and fee collection mechanisms to recover cost. So this is like toll gate charging. Okay, so there will be a charging station in which there will be an access to charging, and there should be a fee collection mechanism either by some RFID card based or some FASTag like approach like that. Okay, so once they have certain options, then it is easy. Otherwise, we need to provide some certain manpower in order to do the charging, as well as they need to do fee collection manually. And for which we need to do planning and design. So charging station planning and design. This is a charging equipment overview. There are currently over 50 vendors of EV charging equipment selling hundreds of models of equipment. Okay, the installation can be simplified if they are existing 230-volt outlets like those used for electric cloth dryers and welding equipment. So it is mentioning that type C, that type B, that is level 2 charging may be preferred for installation, because it is any middle class people and some economically good people may use both. Both the categories may use level 2. So that's why installation can be simplified if they prefer level 2 charging. Okay. And this is the charging station infrastructure. This is the utility supply, the power supply, and then this is the utility transformer, and then switch gear and switchboards and panel boards, and there will be a submetering, and then general purpose transformers, and then load centers, and then watt station. Okay, so this is about the charging station. So with this, then by using the EVSE, then AC alternating current has to be collected, and with the help of some either supercharging or rectifiers, then AC to DC will be provided, and it can be stored, and it can be further used to drive the electric vehicle. So these are all the electrical terms. Maybe the people who are from the electrical background can know all these infrastructured terminologies. Okay. And this is about the charging equipment. This is pluggable level 2 electric vehicle charging equipment. This is about the NEMA 6250 outlet. NEMA is Electrical Maintenance Association, and this is the type of the charging station. This is the plugging. We need to plug it, and we have to do. So start charging and then stop charging. We can have the manual buttons. Suppose if any automatic option will be provided, then we can it can start when it is plugged, and it can stop when it is fully charged. Okay, that option can also be provided. And workplace, as I already mentioned, nowadays, after all, for fuel filling and toll gate service, we are using this card-based arrangement, okay, prepaid arrangement. So here also some workplace and public charging equipment may be benefited with the help of a networking connection from the charging equipment, which monitor usage and allow the owners to collect fees for the use of equipment. So there is no need to sit up, there is no need to allot a person to monitor and control. So once there will be certain network connection and cards may be provided, and once they do charging, then according to the charging it can take, then amount can be deducted. The fees may be collected with the help of networking connection. So the networking capable, because nowadays almost all the places Wi-Fi will be there, mobile-based networking will be there. Okay, so the networking capability, which will generally increases the upfront cost for the equipment, and frequently it requires monthly or annual fees in order to maintain the network services portal. So no need to consider each and every day. So we can have the monthly fee or annual fee. We can able to prepaid service or postpaid service. So depending upon the usage of the charging, then either they can pay the fees priorly, or it can be collected after the service is availed. So networking service capabilities and maximum power handling and cable management are some primary differentiators of the various vendor offerings. So each and every vendor offers various capabilities. So it may vary depending upon the type of the service, networking service, and the power handling and cable management. So we need to identify which service is better, and accordingly the people will prefer the that particular preferred service. And the next one is equipment specifications, general recommendations for all charging equipment. Compliance with the Society of Automotive Engineers J1772 and CADIMO standard for EV charging plug connector dimensions and operational requirements. These are all the necessary recommendations. Okay, so it should be there, and it should be nationally recognized testing lab listed for outdoor usage, and NEMA type certification for outdoor electrical enclosures is important, and it should have the ability to operate in extreme temperature conditions like -22 plus 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Sorry. And Americans with the Disabilities Act, this is ADA, accessible buttons and components. And maybe here I have referred common charging equipment, since the electric vehicles were first evolved at the United States. So that's why this Americans with the Disabilities Act were there. Nowadays, Indians with the Disabilities Act was there, so that can be accessible. And warranty minimum 1 year and longer desired. And the charging amperage from 30 to 80 amperes in order to support vehicles with the higher charging power capabilities, maybe 7.2 to 19.2 kilowatts. And modular field serviceable parts, particularly for card and J1772 connector. Maybe minimum card length is 20 feet. Okay, and card management system in order to keep the card off ground and comply with the National Electric Code article. So there are certain standards, so that should be satisfied in order to do erection of the public charging equipment. And the next one is network monitoring capability for status and fault reporting. There should be current status of charging station equipment and reporting on power consumption and usage patterns. Finally, fee collection system using credit card, access code, and phone operation, contactless RFID card from widespread charging networks with the customer service assistance available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week by phone. All the things are user friendly. Okay, there will be a customer care, there will be what I mentioned earlier. So there should be a credit card, nowadays debit card itself used, and access codes, phone operation, RFID cards like FASTag, and then some customer service assistance. Okay, all these things will make ourselves to use the electric vehicle charging a comfortable one. And electric vehicle service equipment, typical site plans. There are several sitage that is requirements to be considered. Many arrangements and designs for installations depending on parking area layout, availability of power, and other site considerations. There are certain site plan considerations. So I have listed a few. First one is the important thing is power availability. 230 volts for level 2, 240 volts for level 2, and 3-phase for DC fast charging. Suppose if we prefer supercharging or DC fast charging, 3-phase supply is must. And the next one is level parking surface, preferably paved, so electric vehicle service equipment spaces can be marked. And accessibility for disabled users, and there should be barriers or mounting options in order to protect the electric vehicle service equipment from vehicles, and signs and payment markings to designate sites and restrict their usage. So the most important thing is signs. So suppose for the convenient way, any person who wants to do recharging can able to know the availability of the charging station by means of signs and the markings. So this is about the electric vehicle service equipment typical site plan. So see, there will be a biggest area, siting area. So there will be so much free space available. More number of the electric vehicles can come and do the charging, and this is the charging area. So there will be some plugging arrangement, and there will be slots mentioned. So in order to avoid the congestion, then automatically the electric vehicle should park in that mentioned area, and they can do charging one by one. So here only one charging site is there. They can do one by one. Okay. So in the morning, we have seen the solar powered charging site plans. There are several parking areas, parking tracks. Then in that tracks, many number of the electric vehicles can have the charging at a time. So, but here there will be a public area. So in that there won't be any parking. So the electric vehicle would like to charge whenever it is required, wherever they are traveling. Okay, so this will be the middle of the road, nearer to the middle of the road. Then any vehicle who wants electrical charging then can come and do with the prior request. And this is about typical EVSE stations. Okay, see, this is one of the station, and there will be a car nearer to the charging station can stop and can have the charging. So this is one charging station. Okay, the way of charging is similar, but here I have shown different photographs. And this is about the site plan. Okay, we the engineers should know how far the site plan. So before providing the charging station, then we need to get the approval for the site plan. So there may be two major categories. One is a perpendicular parking space and another one is horizontal parking space. So this is about the perpendicular parking space. So see, so there are perpendicular. So here one car may be there. So here Chevrolet, Ford, Nissan, there are so many parking things. Parking port locations will be there. Whichever type of the car is coming for charging, then according to that port may be utilized. Each and every vehicle can have the port location, different locations. Nissan is having port location here, and this is the location for Chevrolet, and this is for Tesla, and this is for Toyota and BMW. Okay, this is the vehicle charging port locations. Okay, this is the spacing. So maybe it is enough, it is comfortable to provide the one vehicle for charging. Okay, there are, depending upon the site spacing, then we can have several number of the tracks. So another one is, this is about the perpendicular, this is about the parallel parking space. Similar to that, parallelly, then we can provide the recharging. Okay, many suitable locations for electric vehicle charging may be located along highway rights of way where parallel parking could be added. This is about one example. This is a parking carriage. So this is the parking carriage. Maybe every organization, every company, every industrial location may have parking carriages. So maybe the vehicle may be parked more than 5 hours or 7 hours. According to the hours it is waiting, then we can have the charging position. So depending upon the number of hours it can wait, then we can provide level 2 or DC super fast charging. Okay, or otherwise with the prior request, then we can provide the super fast charging or level 2 charging. Anyway, according to the type of charging we can avail, then our cost may be vary, the fee collection may be varied. The parking garages provide excellent opportunities for electric vehicle service equipment with the covered facilities, protecting equipment and reducing snow removal needs. So see, this is the closed coverage area. There is no possibility of having the rain or snow condition. It can be our vehicle can be protected with that enclosure. And only thing we need to consider the temperature condition. It should not exceed the temperature required for charging. And many garages have power available and wall or ceiling mounting options which reduce the installation cost. And fees for electric vehicle charging can be included in the parking cost itself. Suppose if we do parking at that time itself, we may be asked whether charging is required or only parking. According to our choice, then the charging may be included with charging or only parking. Okay, and the next one is solar photovoltaic electric vehicle charging canopy. So this is about canopy. We can do placing, that is removal, attachment and detachment. This is the option for using this electric vehicle charging canopy. So covering the operating area with the roof structure. Okay, see, there is a roof structure. And canopy would keep the operating area clear of snow and reduce weather-related pavement damage. And they may offer large visible areas on which to raise awareness of the electric vehicle service equipment and also incorporate solar-based panels in order to provide power to our electric vehicle service equipment. See, so this is about the solar panel arrangement, and this is visible to all the electric vehicle users. And once they crossing this kind of canopy, and they thought, why not we do charging in that place itself? Because suppose if their charging is drained almost, then if there is no canopy or there is no place for recharging is available, then better to recharge in the canopy itself. So they think, so in order to attract the people who are in need for electric vehicle charging, then this is the better option. And it can provide the protection arrangement also because of this roof coverage. And this roof is fully of solar paneled arrangement. And there are turnkey solar canopies with built-in level 2 charging units that are currently being installed in other states also. And the next one is use of retractable cable. Okay, retractable cable means it is not only for normal people, the people who are in disabled condition. Okay, and it also provides access to EVSE cable with minimal snow removal, and many designs require users to manually wind and replace the cable after usage. So there will be a long cable. Suppose if we want to extend the cable depending upon the requirement, then we can extend the cable. Suppose if they wanted to remove the cable, then they can remove the cable whenever it is not necessary, okay, in usage. So this may become difficult to cold weather when the cable becomes stiff and may result in cable being placed on the ground or in around the operating area. So we need to consider the weather condition also. Sometimes the cable may be stiff in that place, we may not do extend. Okay, and this exposes the cable to potential damage from vehicles and snow plows. And it makes use difficult, particularly for disabled users. Suppose if the disabled persons are driving the electric vehicle, they don't want to let down and they wanted to do recharging with them inside the car, then there should be extension of the cable. So in that situation, the cable should not be damaged or felt stiff. Okay, so that we should consider. See, this is the use of the retractable cable. So see how much snow is there. Okay, so there should be snow in that the person don't want to come down and they wanted to do charging with that condition itself. So they will extend their cable and put it for charging. This is one thing. And second one, so the person who is disabled condition, they can sit in this wheelchair and they can do charging. Okay, so this is the electric eco-friendly but it is retractable cable. So with the help of this extendable cable, then electric charge can be done. So this is also an important advantage of the cable with the charging station. Then coming to signage. So as in the starting of the session, then I mentioned every building, the signs are most important. So we all know, we could see in day-to-day life, in our college itself, wherever there are so many departments, so many places, then we have to put the name boards, signs, etc. Right? Similarly, if the users are new to the place, then they wanted to know the place of charging as well as at that time, then signage is most important. Okay. Many EV users will find charging locations through their smartphones or onboard navigation systems. There is still a need for clear roadside signage. So even though we are seeing petrol bunks available or certain some blocks available, there are so many things we can have it as a sign, right? Similarly, similar to those signs, in addition to those signs, then it is better to provide the electric vehicle charging station availability as a signage. And many users may be unfamiliar with the area, and if we provide the signage, it will help about finding the charging location. And while many patrons may be able to find the electric vehicle charging station with their smartphones, some cellular services not uniform across the state and gaps remain. So you may have a doubt. Nowadays, there will be some mapping like Google mapping. So suppose if what is the closest electric vehicle servicing station, definitely it will show. But we may not rely always. Okay, maybe the network issues or maybe certain gaps remain. So in that, it's better to provide the simple signs for the electric vehicle users in order to identify the charging station location. So this is the EV SE signage, the manual on uniform traffic control devices, MUTCD. So this is MUTCD. It has adopted a standard sign symbol for EV services, EV charging station. So EV means electric vehicle, and there will be a plug showing upward thing. So this is the MUT CD approved EVSE symbol. So if this kind of symbol is placed on the roadside, then any electrical user wanted to recharge, then they can know there will be a charging station which is so much closer to the vehicle, and they can go easily and they can get recharging, and they can pay with some available prepaid service or some credit card service. Then they can have a safe journey. And one more thing is, this is EVSE signage, recommended signage for EV charging. So here, when we do this kind of signage, except for electric vehicle charging. So except for the electrical vehicles, no other vehicles can be parked here. So this is the parking area allotted only for electric vehicles. Okay, so it can be used to park the vehicle. Suppose if 2 or 3 3 electric vehicles are in charging, then 4th vehicle is to be charged, then it has to wait. So if that is a situation, that vehicle may be parked in that area, parking area. So this is a symbol we need to provide for parking of the electric vehicle. And this is about the electric voltage charging equipment installed with level 2 equipment, wall mounted along with the standard MUT CD signage. So see, there will be a wall, so that there will be an that is a ground level and the first level, and then first floor level. So there are certain cars are at the surface level. This is the underground level. So there are certain sighting stations, sighting pathways, and then there are certain plugs. So where their electric vehicle is parked, in that place they can do. So see, we have seen the parking port for different, maybe different for Tesla, different for BMW, or different for Chevrolet, like that. See, this cable is having port here. So the cable can be extended up to this, and they can have the charging near in this port. So once, and suppose if it is of a DC fast charging, it may be extended only for few hours. If it is of level 2, then it can have the charging for 8 to 10 hours. Okay, usually in the public location, it may not be preferred for level 1, because level 1 takes more amount of the hours. So maybe 14 hours to get full charge. So the owners may not park their electric vehicles for too much long hours. So that's why level 2 charging as well as the DC supercharging may be preferred. Okay, so here based upon the space available, then we can have the charging stations like this. Okay, sometimes as in the morning itself, I already mentioned, depending upon the parking areas in some of the malls like that, then we can have the underground, and then level 1 first floor, and then there may be level 2 second floor. So how many number of the floors available for parking? Then the top roof only having the solar powered panel. So here there is no solar powered panel. So if you look closely, then this is the signage, right? This is the signage for electric vehicle, and here there is no solar powered panel. So there will be electric panel like that. Then from that, using some port connectors, then we can have the charging. So if it is a solar powered panel, there will be a roof consisting of multiple number of the solar panels, which will collect the solar rays, and which can be converted into power. It can be stored in battery with high capacity, and from which the charging will be carried out. Suppose how many number of the racks, maybe first floor or second floor or third floor, the top roof is only having the solar panel. From that, we can have multiple number of the ports, by which the vehicles who have parked, then they can have the charging. Okay, so here this is the level 2 equipment, wall mounted along with the standard MUTCO signage. So this is the standard MUT CD signage, and then this is the level 2 equipment. And coming to the cost. Okay, usually we all know that whenever we want to install, erection and commissioning, then we prefer only the quality of the charging equipments, battery, and then chargers, port, everything and all. So after that, we need to consider the installation cost. Installation cost itself is not the first priority. Okay, so it may be considered as the prioritized one, but we need to consider as the last one. Okay, because we don't compromise the quality of the charging station and the charging equipment components. So cost of the EVSE installation vary widely depending on site characteristics and the quantity and type of the electric vehicle service station being installed. Okay, so we need to consider the site characteristics and how many cars to be charged, what is the quantity, number of cars to be charged, and what will be the type of the equipment. All these things to be considered for the calculation of the overall cost. Like any product, price is also influenced by the degree of competition amongst EVSE vendors and the ability of vendors to achieve economies of scale in service delivery. Okay, so this is the most important and relevant point what we all do agree. Okay, so depending upon the competition, suppose if the only one service station is there, then they won't do any checking, they don't have any competition. So they will simply prefer that charging station and they do charging. Whatever the amount is charged, then they will do. Suppose if there are multiple vendors are there, multiple equipments are installed, then they will look around the fee to be collected. So which one is charging minimum? So that minimum cost and the service delivery is good. We need to consider. Okay, so among that we need to consider these parameters. Okay, the ability of the vendors to achieve the economies of scale in service delivery. And equipment prices and installation cost are decreasing as electric vehicle service station became more prevalent, with particularly rapid cost reductions for level 3 charging equipment. So usually when we do installation, we do consider level 1 or level 2 because of low economical condition. But as far as the number of hours to be recharged, then we need to prefer the level 3, which is nothing but DC super fast charging. So when we prefer the level 3, then obviously the charging cost may be high enough, but within short duration, we can able to provide the charging, full charging, and it is not affordable by all. Okay, those who are rich in economy, then they can do level 3 charging easily, but they are, when they don't afford, then they can prefer only level 3. So according to the affordability of the consumers or customers, then level 3 charging or level 2 charging equipment can be installed. It is recommended that at that time level 2 and level 3 charging capabilities in a single charging station, and depending upon the hours they can able to do recharging and the amount they can able to pay, then accordingly they will prefer whether level 2 or level 3 charging. The different components of commercial electric vehicle servicing station cost include the equipment price from the vendor and the installation. So usually we all know there will be a selling cost and there will be a manufacturing cost, right? Manufacturing cost include the accessories cost, the components cost, maybe the battery cost, motor cost, charging port cost, electronic board cost, everything and all. So this is about the equipment price from the vendor. And once they got it from the vendor with an optimal price, and we need to consider the installation cost also, where they need to install. Okay, servicing station. Okay, like how far we are able to install the petrol bunk station. Similarly, there will be electric vehicle charging station. So which includes the installation cost also. There are certain requirements. One is the power connection to the electric grid, which include any electric circuit components, and the conduit runs necessary to reach the equipment. Okay, there will be power connection. Suppose if it is of very rural condition, then we need to take the power connection. It takes more cost and we need to do more formalities, everything. Okay, and second one is mounting. Wall mount generally less expensive than the post mounted, which require concrete pedestal. Okay, what we have seen, no, this is about all our see, this is the post mounted. This is the not wall mounted, post mounted. So wherever we need to do recharging station, then this is about the post mounted. Okay, so post mounted, which require concrete pedestal, we need to build the concrete pedestal, so it will be costing higher. And the protective services such as the bollards or wheel stops, everything and all. And wayfinding signage, parking lot lines and stripes. So we need to provide the wayfinding signage. So this is the responsibility of the electric charging station itself. Okay, and then proper lighting. Suppose maybe during the evening time or during the night time they wanted to do recharge. So at that time, proper enough lighting, sufficient lighting should be provided. And the internet connection if cellular data service is not available. Okay, we need to provide the internet connection. Suppose if the electric vehicle owners will come with some RFID cards or some credit cards, then they have to pay only by their cards. So at that time, internet connection should be there. And where there is a pathway, everything will be mapped. Okay, so in that mapping itself, so that will be helpful to identify the location of the charging station. And the next one is the operating cost. So we know the installation cost and we know the manufacturing cost. Next one is the operating cost. So in comparison with the bunk station, there will be certain manpower in order to provide the fuel service. Like, so here this operating cost not include the manpower, some energy costs for power supplied to EVs and cost for ongoing remote monitoring services as well as maintenance cost for the equipment. The most common maintenance issue for electric vehicle service station is damage to the card, that is a J1772 connector if it is of level 2. Suppose if it is of DC fast charge, there are two costly adapters to be followed. If you use those costly adapters, then we have to be very careful in protecting those cards and adapters. So which will include the operating cost. So whatever may be the type of the adapter we are using, whatever the service we are able to provide, then accordingly, then we have to consider the operating cost. So overall cost include installation cost and then manufacturing cost as well as the operating cost. So estimated operational costs of the electric vehicle service station. So energy, electric utility cost for the power supply and usage, monitoring and point of sale systems. Certain optional equipments to be considered in terms of energy, time charging, number of events, other measures. Though we can have additional accessories. How much amount of the energy is utilized, how many hours they have been charged, number of events, number of vehicles charged, and all other, that is additional accessories. Okay, so depending upon the additional accessories what we would like to add, then we can include in the operational cost. And then another important thing is maintenance cost. So maintenance, snow removal and insurance cost. Okay, this can also be included in the overall cost. So these costs will be variable depending on the equipment, installation location and the amount of usage received. Okay. So what will be the requirement? What will be the application in which we need to do charging? What will be the type of the electric vehicle in which charging is required? What will be the situation in which we need to do protection, like snow removal or high temperature or low temperature, like that. And another important thing is insurance cost. So nowadays, while purchasing the electric vehicle itself, insurance cost will also be included, similar to our conventional cars. Okay, and in general, electric vehicle service equipment requires minimal routine maintenance. Okay, like calibration. So wherever we need to provide the charging equipment, then we need to do monitoring and control. Frequent monitoring, frequent maintenance is required in order to ensure the running of the electric vehicle service equipment in a safe way, because it should be operated in a safe condition, hazard-free condition, electric eco-friendly condition. So that's why minimal routine maintenance is required. So we need to provide certain cost for that routine maintenance also. So what are all the costs to be involved? Routine maintenance cost, and then that is a common maintenance cost, and then operational cost, and then installation cost, and the equipment prices. So these four can be included. And coming to electric vehicle charging business models. So this is based upon the type of the business model, subscription or fee for use. Earlier we can have an option. We can have the prepaid option, okay, and we can subscribe and we can pay the fee prior to the use. So EVSE owner charges for the use of the individual stations or access to a network of stations for a specified period of time. This could be one-time use or a monthly subscription. And advertising-based revenue generation, it is designed to allow its owner to lease space for advertising messaging. It may require additional review by local jurisdictions. And EVSE paired with renewable energy generation, some solar voltaic installations, it can offset energy cost of EV charging through utility net metering arrangement. So depending upon the type of the solar charging station, either solar charging or conventional charging station, according to that we need to do electric vehicle charging. So depending upon the type of the charging we do, depending upon the number of hours we do charging, then the fee will be collected either by card-based system, prepaid card-based system, or postpaid card-based system. Nowadays, we prefer the prepaid card-based system because there is a possibility to get forgotten to pay. So at that time, penalty may be imposed. The earlier, then postpaid will be there. So at that time, many people would pay the penalty. So in order to avoid that, it is better to use the prepaid. Okay, some RFID card-based system under the prepaid credit system. Suppose if it is of a postpaid, then they have to use the credit card-based one. And the charging equipment implementation. So depending upon the permission, so it's not easy to do charging as per our wish. So even though we can able to do survey of in which place charging station to be implemented, and what are all the major considerations to be requirements to be considered, and what are all the type of the charging we wish to desire. Then another important thing is certain permission. So state of Vermont permitting, there will be a department, Vermont Department of Fire Safety Division for fire safety. So there is a department. So in that department we have to get approval. Okay, so there will be a form available at firesafety.vermont.government professions/electrical. So there is a HTTP, there is a link in which then we have to go and we have to collect the form and we have to fill that, which include some electrical code requirements and the permit process for electrical equipment, and which include charging equipment located on commercial or residential or multi-family properties. Okay, what is the purpose? Where did you purchase the electric charging equipments? What are all the conditions? And what are all the accessories? All the things to be notified in that thing. This is the public area, multi-family property. Suppose if it is of a single family residential purpose, then installations are exempted from this permit requirement. Suppose if it is of a single family user, then they don't need to get the permission from this Vermont department. Then they have to use without the permission. They can have the recharging only at the home. Okay, so for which they don't need to get the prior permission. And the next one is municipal permitting. So charging stations on the exterior of the house may require permit depending on the community. and most multifamily and commercial property locations will require a minimum of an administratively processed permit. Municipal permission is also important. And the next one is installation checklist, whether it is a single family homeowner or multi-family homeowners or tenants association, public and private parking areas. Nowadays, if there will be an apartment with more than 10 to 20 number of the homes are there, there will be a tenant association, owners and tenants association. So if more number of the electric vehicle owners are there, then they can have the permission for installing the charging equipment. Then at that time they can use that form in order to have the permission. And the public and the private parking area, then they should compulsorily fill the checklist. And challenges in the Indian electric vehicle industry. So we have seen up to this, what is an electric vehicle, what are all the requirements, how do we consider the charging equipment, what are all the parts, what about the battery, and what will be the site considerations, all these things we have seen. So I hope every one of we will be clear. Okay, but even though we know the advantages and advancements in the electric vehicle usage, still we are facing certain challenges. The average on-road price of the electric vehicle in India is not attractive enough for consumers. Still it is high enough. So that's why many customers are hesitating to purchase the electric vehicles. So as per the recent discussion and the recent discussion in the budget for electric vehicle utility along with our Prime Minister Modi, then definitely in the upcoming years, there is a possibility of having reduction in the electric vehicle price in order to attract more number of the consumers. And inadequate charging infrastructure, if more number of the consumers are there, definitely adequate charging infrastructure may be possible. And the reliance on battery imports, because we need to consider the lithium ion, we need to import from the China, Japan, like that. That's why we need to rely on battery imports from various subcontinents. And then range anxiety among consumers. We may not be confident enough in riding our electric vehicles for longer distance. Suppose if our vehicle is stopped in between the riding, then if there is no charging nearby, then what will be our kind of position? Like that, we'll have so many points in our mind. So there will be range anxiety and inadequate electricity supply in parts of India. And lack of quality maintenance and repair options. Suppose if we purchased the car, we are utilizing the electric vehicle charging, which is super EVSE, and suppose if any fault is identified, there are minimum number of the repairing options. And changing the mindset of consumers, adapting to new technology. Even though it can be treated as very good usage, and good to use, and our consumers having the mindset tough to adapt to new technology. So finally, I would like to conclude, as India is country with vast road network, if our India wants to boost the popularity of EVs, it needs to install as many charging stations as possible. So if more number of the charging stations have to be installed, then definitely India will be increasing economically. And installation of charging station is much easier, but lack of knowledge makes it difficult to handle. Okay, so there should be more training programs should be provided to the electric vehicle users, how to use the electric vehicle properly, and about the recharging facilities, how to do recharging, all these things. So definitely with the proper knowledge will surely improve the current state of the infrastructure. I expect maybe this kind of PPT will enlighten our mindset to prefer the usage of the electrical vehicles in future. Thank you. I would like to conclude my PPT presentation with this conclusion. Any queries?
Thank you, ma'am. Any queries? Shall we wind up the session? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you
would
for
like
your-
to thank the coordinators for having given me the opportunity to be a part of this ATAL FDP program, and I also thank the participants who have listened patiently, and I hope at least some percentage level I can able to provide the input regarding electric vehicle recharging station requirements. Thank you all.
Hello, excuse me.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I have one simple question. That if I want to charge one, let's say 20, like a car battery from normal electrical station, so what type of extra component required for it?
Sir, if it is of home purpose, we can have the level 1 charging port itself.
I am talking about the, let's say level 3.
Level C means it cost at least 50 lakhs and more.
50 lakhs.
Yes, lakhs and crore.
And
Because
for
supercharging, not only for single one, no, there are so many electric vehicles to be charged, no. So the cost may be high enough.
and for level 2?
Level 2 means somewhat reduced than level 3.
So it is not possible for common use.
Sir, level 2 is commonly used nowadays in parking areas and malls, right, like that. Then we are having the level 2 charging. Level
Yeah.
3 charging is not there. Level 2 charging is available at our India.
So are the components inside the that charging?
Sir, whatever the components we have seen, no. Electric battery, power electronics component, motor, all these things.
Okay. So how much cost it would be?
No, sir, I don't have that much exact cost.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Vijay Kumar, sir, you can ask your question. You have posted in the chat box, right? Okay. We will wind up the session, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Shyamala madam. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your wonderful presentation and more informative.
Okay.
And
I will share the PPT to you, then you can use it, right?
yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, madam. Shall I leave?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.